You've been using Web2 your entire online life, probably without thinking about it as a category. Every app you log into with an email and password, every photo you upload to a platform, every payment that routes through a bank or processor, every piece of content you create that lives on someone else's server. That's Web2, and it works well enough that most people have no reason to question it. Web3 is a different architecture for the internet, built on different assumptions about who owns data, who controls identity, and who captures the value that users generate. Understanding the difference isn't about picking a side. It's about understanding a structural shift that's already underway. How we got here. Web 1 was the read-only internet. Static pages, no interaction, no accounts. You could consume content but not create or participate. It ran from roughly the early 1990s through the early 2000s. Web 2 is the internet most people know. Read-write. Platforms where users create content, interact, transact, and build communities. Social media, e-commerce, cloud services, streaming. The user experience improved dramatically. The underlying ownership model, however, centralized power in a relatively small number of platforms. 5 companies, Google, Apple, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft, now collectively hold more user data than any institutions in human history. That concentration is a feature of the Web 2 model, not a bug in its implementation. Platforms grow by accumulating data, and the data belongs to the platform, not the person who generated it. Web 3 is an attempt to redesign that ownership layer. Not just a better user experience on top of the same infrastructure, but a different model for who controls data, identity, and value at the protocol level. The core difference: ownership and control. In Web 2, your account is a record in a company's database. The company grants you access and can revoke it. When Twitter bans an account, that account ceases to exist on the platform. When a company shuts down, the data on it disappears. When platforms change their terms, users either accept the new terms or lose access to their own content and history. In Web 3, your identity is a wallet, a cryptographic key pair you control. No company manages your credentials. No platform can revoke your identity. Your assets, whether that's currency, digital content, or governance rights, exist on a blockchain that no single entity controls. The relationship between user and platform is fundamentally different because the user holds the keys. This isn't theoretical. MetaMask has over 30 million monthly active wallets. Over 560 million people globally now interact with crypto and Web3 tools in some form. 24.6 million daily unique active wallets were using DApps in Q1 2025. Web3 is not a concept waiting to happen. It's infrastructure in active use. Data, who owns it and what that means. In Web 2, data flows upward into corporate silos. When you use a free product, the product is built on your data. Search history, browsing behavior, purchase patterns, social connections. All of it is collected, stored, and monetized by platforms. Users generate the value, and platforms capture it. In Web 3, data flows outward to users. Applications must request permission to access data. Users can grant or revoke access at any time. Your digital identity is portable across platforms rather than locked inside any single company's infrastructure. The practical implications extend beyond privacy. In Web 2, a creator who builds an audience on a platform is entirely dependent on that platform's continued existence and goodwill. Platform changes its algorithm, the creator's reach drops. Platform shuts down, the audience disappears. In Web 3, owned assets, whether digital content, tokens, or community memberships, exist independently of any platform. Identity and authentication. Web 2 authentication is username and password stored in centralized databases. The security history of this model is not encouraging. Billions of credentials have been compromised in data breaches over the past decade. When a platform's database is hacked, every user's account is potentially exposed. Web3 authentication is cryptographic. Your wallet is your identity. When you connect a wallet to a dApp, you're proving ownership of a cryptographic key, not sharing a password. There's no centralized credential database to breach, no password resets, no email verification. The trade-off is responsibility. In Web2, you can recover a forgotten password. In Web3, losing your private key or seed phrase means losing access permanently. The security model places more power and more responsibility on the individual user. Payments and value transfer Web2 payments are intermediated. Every transaction routes through banks, payment processors, or platforms that take fees, impose restrictions, and operate within geographic limitations. Sending money internationally through Web2 infrastructure typically takes days and costs more than it should. Web3 payments are peer-to-peer. Transactions settle on a blockchain in minutes or seconds, with fees that reflect network congestion rather than institutional margins. There's no geographic restriction, no bank account required, no intermediary who can freeze the transaction. Cross-chain DeFi wallet transactions grew 27% globally in 2025, driven by improving interoperability across networks. This has significant implications for the 1.4 billion adults globally who remain unbanked. Web3 financial infrastructure requires a smartphone and internet access, not a banking relationship or government-issued credentials. Where Web3 still lags behind. None of this means Web3 has solved every problem or that Web2 is going away. The honest picture in 2026 is more nuanced. Web3 user experience remains substantially more complex than Web2. Setting up a wallet, managing seed phrases, understanding gas fees, connecting to DApps, this is not intuitive for people who haven't spent time in the space. Web2 achieved mass adoption, partly because logging in with Google takes 2 seconds. Web3 has not yet reached that level of accessibility. Transaction speed and cost are improving but not yet at Web2 parity for most use cases. Layer 2 networks on Ethereum have reduced transaction fees dramatically, and chains like Solana process thousands of transactions per second. But throughput and latency are still engineering challenges at true internet scale. Smart contract risk is a real and ongoing issue. In Web2, if a company's app has a bug, the company patches it. In Web3, a bug in a smart contract can result in irreversible loss of funds. The code is the contract, and once deployed, it's difficult to change. Audits and formal verification are improving, but the risk model is fundamentally different from Web2. What's actually changing in 2026? The framing of Web3 versus Web2 as a competition is becoming less useful. In 2026, the more interesting story is integration. 80% of Fortune 500 companies have adopted blockchain technology in some capacity. Traditional financial institutions are building on-chain infrastructure. Web2 platforms are integrating wallet-based authentication. Account abstraction, a technical upgrade that removes the complexity of managing raw cryptographic keys, is reaching production in major Ethereum wallets. It allows users to interact with Web3 using familiar Web2 patterns, like social login and account recovery, without sacrificing the underlying ownership model. This is the bridge the space has needed. Web3 is not replacing Web2 on a set timeline. What it's doing is creating a parallel layer of ownership infrastructure that increasingly interoperates with existing systems. The question in 2026 isn't which one wins, it's which use cases are better served by decentralized ownership and how quickly the tooling catches up with the vision. For data ownership, financial access, and digital asset management, the answer is becoming clearer.